What if everything you think you know about women is wrong? Most men think they know what women want. But here's the ugly truth: if you're like almost every guy, you've been doing it wrong your entire life. And worse, you didn't even know it. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You meet a woman, you're polite, you make her laugh, you buy her a drink, you tell yourself you're being a gentleman. She smiles. She thanks you. Then she never texts back. Or worse, she leaves with the guy who didn't try half as hard as you, and you're left staring at your phone, wondering what the hell just happened. It happens at bars. It happens on dating apps. It happens at work. Over and over again. You give your best. You play safe. You check all the boxes society told you to check, and still, you end up invisible, or stuck in the friend zone, or ghosted without warning. That's not bad luck. That's not timing. That's not women being confusing. That's a broken strategy, a program running in your head that sabotages you before you even open your mouth. And here's the crazy part. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You'll realize why women overlook you, why attraction slips through your fingers, and why the guys who don't deserve her attention are the ones who get it anyway. In this video, I'm going to break that script wide open and show you what actually creates attraction. Not theory, not pickup lines. The raw truth women will never say out loud, but respond to every single time. Stick with me until the end. Because the difference between staying stuck in that 98% or breaking into the top 2% comes down to the next few minutes. Let's cut straight to the truth. Most men are invisible to women, not because they lack looks, money, or intelligence, but because they're running on the wrong script. It's like trying to play the wrong sport with the wrong rule book. You think you're scoring points, but the game doesn't even recognize your moves. That's why you keep losing without knowing why. Here's what's happening. From the time you were a kid, you were programmed. Teachers told you to respect women. Parents told you to always be nice. Movies told you that flowers, compliments, and endless patience would win her heart. And you believed it. You carried those rules into high school, into college, into your adult life. And yet, every time you followed the script, you got the same result. Nothing. She pulled away. She chose someone else. She smiled and said, "You're so sweet," before texting another guy behind your back. The brutal truth is this: women don't feel attraction to a resume. They don't feel attraction to effort alone. And they definitely don't feel attraction to a man who needs them more than they need him. The more you chase, the faster she runs. The more you try to prove yourself, the quicker she loses interest. It's backwards logic, and that's why so many men can't wrap their heads around it. But attraction isn't logical. It's emotional, it's raw, it's unpredictable. And that's why your perfect gentleman routine falls flat every single time. I know because I lived it. I was the guy who dressed sharp, cracked jokes, and treated women like royalty. And I thought it made me stand out. In reality, it made me disappear. I'd watch less attractive, less qualified guys walk away with the very women I had been working overtime to impress. At first, I thought it was unfair. Then I realized it was math. It was psychology. It was biology. And I was losing because I was following the wrong code. See, women don't crave safety and predictability in the beginning. They crave tension. They crave the push and pull that makes their heart race and their mind light up with questions. They want to feel something. And here's the painful part. Most men are terrified of creating that tension. The second a moment feels uncomfortable, they rush to smooth it over. She teases you. You agree. She challenges you. You back down. She pauses. You fill the silence. You become soft, safe, predictable. And in her mind, you become invisible. Attraction isn't built on comfort. Attraction is built on polarity, on the spark that comes from two people not being perfectly aligned, not knowing what comes next, not being certain of the outcome. That spark is why she laughs harder at the guy who doesn't try. That spark is why she texts back the man who isn't waiting by his phone. That spark is why 98% of men lose before the first date even begins. The reason this matters is simple. Once you understand it, you can change it. Once you stop running on the outdated good boy program, you can finally step into the role that women actually respond to. Not the bad boy, not the jerk, but the man with a frame of his own. The man who doesn't bend at every test. The man who can sit in tension without scrambling to escape it. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she respects. That's the man she feels drawn to in ways she can't even explain. And if you're still doubting this, ask yourself one question. When was the last time being safe and predictable gave you the outcome you wanted? Exactly. Here's where everything shifts. If you want to understand why most men fail, you need to understand polarity. Every interaction between a man and a woman has these invisible pressure points, moments where attraction can either rise or collapse. Think of them as sparks. Handle them right. The fire grows. Handle them wrong. The flame dies instantly. Most men kill the spark without even realizing it. A woman gives them a playful challenge, and instead of holding their ground, they fold. She makes a bold statement, and instead of teasing back, they nod politely. She pushes a little to see what he's made of, and he crumbles, desperate to keep her comfortable. But here's the truth. Women don't crave comfort at the start. They crave energy, polarity, tension. That's the heartbeat of attraction. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you were glued to a movie with no conflict? Because humans don't crave comfort in stories, and women don't crave comfort in romance. They want to feel something. They want to wonder what's coming next. They want to be pulled into an emotional roller coaster where the highs feel higher because of the lows. And if you show up like a predictable instruction manual, Page 1, I like you. Page 2, I'll do anything for you. Page 3, please pick me, you've already lost. Now, here's where most guys get it twisted. They hear women like tension and think it means they should be jerks. They start acting cold, arrogant, or even rude. But that's not attraction, that's insecurity in disguise. Women don't actually want the bad boy. They want the man who has his own reality, his own frame, his own life that doesn't shatter the moment she walks in. The so-called bad boy only wins because he naturally embodies those traits he doesn't care enough to perform. So he shows up as himself, but you don't need to be reckless to win. You just need to be grounded, independent, confident in your own skin. Think about it this way. You've been trained your whole life to be a golden retriever, loyal, friendly, predictable, always wagging your tail for approval. And women smile at that. They'll pat you on the head, call you sweet, and then leave you behind. Why? Because deep down, they're not looking for a pet. They're looking for a wolf. Not an aggressive wolf, not a dangerous wolf, but a wolf nonetheless. Independent, mysterious, capable of standing alone. A man who walks his own path and invites her to join. not a man who drops everything just to follow. And here's the paradox when you show up like a wolf. She feels safer with you than she ever did with the golden retriever. Because safety doesn't come from compliance. Safety comes from strength. She doesn't trust the man who bends at every whim. She trusts the man who holds steady, no matter what storm is in front of him. That's what allows her to relax. That's what allows her to open up. And that's what pulls her deeper into your world. So ask yourself, are you living like the golden retriever, waiting for scraps of attention? Or are you becoming the wolf, grounded in your own reality, pulling her in with presence, not performance? Let me give you a real example of how this plays out. Imagine you match with a gorgeous woman online. Instantly, your brain goes into overdrive. You start crafting the perfect opener, something clever, something witty, something that shows you're different from every other guy in her inbox. And right there, before you even hit send, you've already lost. Why? Because the moment your words are designed for her reaction, you're no longer expressing yourself. You're performing. You're auditioning for a role you'll never get. And women can smell it instantly. It doesn't matter how polished the line is, she can feel the neediness behind it, the desperation to impress. It's like blood in the water, and she's the shark. The guys who win in that moment don't try to perform. They don't write to impress. They write what amuses them. They write the same way they'd text a friend. They don't put her on a pedestal just because she's attractive. And ironically, that's what makes her stop scrolling. That's what makes her think, wait, this one feels different. But here's where 98% of men crash and burn. Even after hearing this, they try to fake it. They tell themselves, okay, I'll act like I don't care. I'll pretend I'm busy. I'll write like I have options. And within minutes, the mask slips. Because no matter how hard you try, you can't fake energy. You can't fake authenticity. Women have been reading male behavior since they were teenagers. They've seen every trick, every pickup line, every fake alpha act. Their authenticity detector is sharper than any lie detector you'll ever face. That's why the solution isn't to act like the man she wants. It's to become that man. To actually build the life, the mindset, the standards that naturally create attraction. When you text her, it's not an act, it's just who you are. When you tease her, you're not playing a role, you're speaking your truth. When you disagree, it's not a strategy. It's because you genuinely don't see the world the way she does. And that's exactly what makes her lean in. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I met a girl who could have stopped traffic. The kind of beauty that makes men rearrange their whole day just for a chance encounter. Old me would have played it safe, nodded along, agreed with everything, laughed at jokes that weren't funny. But instead, I chose truth over performance. When she said something ridiculous, I didn't nod. I laughed and told her flat out, "That's the dumbest thing I've heard all week." And guess what? She didn't storm off. She didn't get offended. She laughed. Then she leaned in. Then she wanted more. Because here's the secret when you treat a beautiful woman like a goddess. She looks down on you. But when you treat her like a human with opinions that can be wrong, with ideas you can challenge, she respects you. And respect is the foundation of attraction. Without it, you're done before you even start. Here's where almost every man makes his biggest mistake. They think attraction is about doing more compliments, more attention, more texts, more availability. They pile it on like stacking bricks. hoping eventually it will be enough to build something solid. But attraction doesn't work like that. Attraction isn't addition. Attraction is subtraction. Think about it. The guys who suffocate women with attention never win. Why? Because value disappears when something is too available. It's basic economics, supply and demand. If she knows you'll always text back instantly, always pick up the phone, always say yes to her requests, your attention has zero value. You've made yourself infinite supply with no demand. And just like in the marketplace, what's infinite becomes worthless. Now flip the script. Imagine a man who isn't always available. Sometimes he responds quickly. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he makes time. Sometimes he doesn't. His energy isn't predictable. His attention isn't guaranteed. What happens then suddenly? She's checking her phone. Suddenly, she's wondering what he's doing. Suddenly, he takes up real estate in her mind. That space, that uncertainty, that empty gap that is where attraction grows. Here's the painful irony: most men know this at some level, but they can't act on it. The second they meet a woman they like, they hand her unlimited access. They cancel plans. They reply instantly. They reorganize their life just to get a slice of her time. And in doing so, they destroy the very spark they're trying to build. Because what's always available never feels valuable. I'll be honest, I used to be that guy. The one glued to my phone, waiting for her text. The one who'd drop everything just to see her. And I told myself it was commitment. I told myself it was effort. But the truth was, it was desperation. And she could feel it. Women can sense neediness the way sharks sense blood in water. The more available I became, the less she wanted me. The more I gave, the less she valued it. Until I learned the law of subtraction. Here's how it changed me. Instead of overgiving, I pulled back. Instead of texting for validation, I texted when I actually had something to say. Instead of being endlessly available, I protected my time like it mattered. And what happened? The women I dated leaned in harder. They chased. They initiated. They worked to keep my attention. Not because I was playing games, but because my attention actually meant something now. This is what most men never grasp. Attraction isn't built by flooding her with effort. It's built by creating space. Space for her to wonder. Space for her to miss you. Space for her to invest. The vacuum you create is what pulls her in. Not the gifts, not the flattery, not the endless good morning texts. Subtract, and you gain power. Subtract, and you gain value. Subtract, it's all. And for the first time, she feels the pull she's been waiting for. Here's the truth. Nobody wants to admit. You can't just flip a switch and master this overnight. Even when you understand the concept, your old programming fights back. I know, because it happened to me. When I first tried to break free from the good boy script, I didn't suddenly become smooth or confident. I overcorrected. Badly. I went from too nice to too cold. From too available to completely distant. From agreeable to argumentative. And I failed spectacularly. But here's the crazy part. My failures were still better than my old successes. Even when I was messing up, women were more engaged, more curious, more drawn in than when I was being the perfect, polite gentleman. Because at least I wasn't predictable anymore. At least there was tension, polarity, something real for them to respond to. It took me dozens, maybe hundreds of interactions to find balance, to stop trying to please, but also not swing into indifference, to hold my ground without turning into a jerk, to show genuine interest without handing over my whole identity. But once I began to calibrate, everything changed. I'll never forget the moment it all clicked. I was on a date with a woman most men would kill to be with. Stunning. The kind of girl who turns heads when she walks into a room. We sat down, ordered drinks, and halfway through the night, I realized something shocking. I was bored. She was beautiful, yes, but she was dull. And the old me would have pushed through, pretending to be fascinated, nodding along just to keep her happy. The new me didn't. I looked her in the eye and said, "You're gorgeous." But honestly, this conversation is putting me to sleep. I'd rather go home and watch Netflix. It'll be more exciting. Then I stood up and left. Do you know what happened next? She called me that night. Then she called me the next day. Then she chased for a week straight. This was a woman who had men lined up for her attention, and suddenly she was chasing me. Not because I played a trick, not because I used some cheesy tactic, but because I valued my time more than her beauty. And for the first time, she felt what most women rarely feel: respect for a man who wasn't afraid to walk away. That's real power. That's real frame. And here's the part most men miss. It wasn't about being rude. It wasn't about punishing her. It was about having standards. Standards beyond looks. Standards beyond the surface. Standards that made it clear I wasn't going to waste my energy on someone who couldn't hold my interest. That's the difference between the man she forgets and the man she can't stop thinking about. So ask yourself this: are you willing to walk away? Or are you still the guy clinging to any scrap of attention, even if it bores you to death? Now let's talk about the graveyard, where most men end up, the friend zone. Every guy fears it, but few actually understand why it happens. The truth is brutal. The friend zone is not a random accident. It's a place you earn, and you earn it the moment you act like a buddy, when what you really want is to be her lover. Think about it. You hide your intentions because you don't want to scare her off. You're agreeable. You're always available. You offer support, rides, favors, hoping one day she'll notice you. But she never does. Why? Because you trained her from the start to see you as safe, predictable, non-sexual. You showed up as a pet, not a partner. And then you're shocked when she treats you like her emotional support system instead of her man. I knew a guy like this. Let's call him Mike. Mike was the king of the friend zone. Every time he liked a woman, he'd slip into the same routine. Be her helper. Be her therapist. Be her shoulder to cry on. And after months of loyal service, he'd finally confess his feelings. The answer was always the same: I don't see you that way. And every time, Mike was crushed. But I was so nice to her. Exactly. That was the problem. Nice doesn't equal attraction. Nice doesn't equal desire. Nice is what she calls her brother, her co-worker, her dog. Attraction is built on something entirely different. So what's the solution? It's not about being less nice. It's about leading with attraction first, kindness second. Show interest from day one. Be playful. Be teasing. Be bold enough to disagree. Let her feel the spark of polarity before you start layering kindness on top. That's how you avoid the trap. And if you want to rewire yourself, here's a simple exercise. Next time you text a woman, stop before you hit send. Ask yourself one question. Am I writing this to get a reaction from her, or am I writing this because it entertains me? If it's the first, delete it. If it's the second, send it. This filter alone will flip your entire communication style. You'll stop auditioning and start expressing. You'll stop seeking approval and start radiating confidence. Another exercise practice: disagreeing. Not to argue, not to be difficult, but to be real. If you don't like a movie, say so. If you don't share her opinion, voice it. I don't see it that way. That's interesting. But I think differently. Nah, that show was terrible. You'll be shocked at what happens. Instead of losing interest, she leans in. Because for once, she's talking to a man with a spine. A man who isn't desperate for her approval. A man who sees her as human, not a goddess on a pedestal. That's the key. Stop hiding. Stop pretending. Stop playing the long game of fake friendship. The moment you show up as the man you actually are interested, bold, unafraid of tension, you stop being the safe, nice guy and start being the man she can't stop thinking about. Here's the real secret, the one most men will never face. You can't fake being the man women want. You actually have to become him. You can memorize every trick, every line, every tactic. But if underneath it all, you're still desperate for female validation, women will sniff it out instantly. Their radar for this is sharper than you can imagine. And once they sense you need them to feel whole, they're gone. So what's the solution? Build a life that's already full, a life that excites you, challenges you, and fulfills you before a woman even enters the picture. Have hobbies that light you up. Have goals that push you forward. Have friends who sharpen you instead of just taking up space. Fill your days with things that matter so deeply to you that no woman could ever become your entire world. That's when attraction stops being something you chase and becomes something you naturally create. Because here's the truth: women don't want to be your purpose. They don't want the crushing pressure of being your only source of joy or validation. That weight suffocates them. It's why they pull away. They can feel when you're using them as a band-aid for an empty life. And that emptiness is a void they can never fill. No matter how kind or beautiful they are, they'll run. Because no one wants to carry someone else's brokenness. Flip it. Imagine you're already fulfilled. You've got passion, ambition, friends, a mission that drives you. A woman steps into your life. And she's not your oxygen. She's the cherry on top. Sweet, enjoyable, a bonus. If she stays, great. If she leaves, your Sunday is still complete. That's the energy women find magnetic. Because now, your attention is a gift, not a cry for help. She's not completing you, she's complimenting you. This is why men who are naturally good with women often surprise people. They're not always the best looking, the richest, or even the funniest, but they're solid, they're grounded. They'd be just fine without women. They have their own thing going on, and that's what pulls women in. Not the gifts, not the flattery, not the endless availability. It's the fact that his life is already worth living with or without her. That's the paradox. When you stop needing women, that's when women want you most. When your time is valuable, your attention scarce, and your energy focused on your own path. Suddenly, you're the one she's chasing. Because she can feel the difference. She knows you're not performing for her. You're not auditioning for her approval. You're living your life, and she gets the chance to join you. So ask yourself right now, are women the center of your world, or just one part of it? If she left tomorrow, would your life collapse, or would it keep moving, stronger than ever? The answer to that question will tell you exactly why you win or why you lose. Now, let's talk about the moment of truth, the approach, whether it's online or in person. Most men walk in with the same energy a job interview. Please pick me. Here are my qualifications. I'm funny, I'm stable, I've got potential. Am I good enough? And the second you show up like that, you've already failed. Because no woman wants to hire you for the position of boyfriend. The energy you need is completely different. It's not please pick me. It's I'm already living a life worth sharing. And you might get the chance to be a part of it. That's not arrogance. That's not narcissism. That's knowing your worth. That's valuing your time, your attention, your energy. If you don't believe those things matter, why should she? Here's the mindset shift that flips everything. Stop thinking about getting women. Start thinking about selecting women. You're not here to convince every woman to like you. You're here to find the few who actually meet your standards. And when you make that switch, rejection stops feeling like failure. Because rejection isn't rejection, it's sorting. She's not interested, dude. She just saved you time. On to the next. I used to spend years trying to win women over, performing, impressing, convincing. It was exhausting. Then I made the shift. Instead of asking, how do I get her to like me? I started asking, do I even like her? Is she kind? Is she interesting? Does she fit my lifestyle? Does she add value beyond her looks? Suddenly, the dynamic flipped. I wasn't chasing. I wasn't convincing. I was choosing. And when a man truly believes he's the prize, women feel it. They lean in. They want to qualify themselves to you. But here's what nobody warns you about. When you make this shift, it gets lonely at first. The women who only wanted your free attention disappear. The friends who liked you as their pushover buddy get confused. Even family might say you've changed, become selfish, too focused on yourself. And it stings. You'll feel the weight of that loss. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're doing the right thing. That's the test. That's the fire you have to walk through. Because on the other side of that loneliness is something real, authentic connection, women who actually respect you, relationships built on attraction, not obligation. You'll lose the ones who are only taking, but you'll gain the ones who truly choose you. And that trade is worth everything. So understand this in the short term. This journey costs you. It costs attention. It costs approval. It costs the comfort of being everyone's nice guy. But in the long run, it gives you back your power. And once you step into that, once you live from that frame, you'll never go back. Most men spend their whole lives running on the wrong script. Nice, safe, predictable, and wonder why they're ignored, ghosted, or left behind. The truth is painful, but freeing women don't crave effort. They crave presence. They don't fall for the man who bends. They fall for the man who stands tall in his own frame. What I've shared with you isn't theory. It's the raw truth. Attraction isn't built through chasing, proving, or begging. It's built through polarity, confidence, and a life so full that a woman becomes an addition, not a lifeline. And here's the promise: once you step into that, everything changes. Not just in dating, but in every part of your life. So the choice is in your hands. Stay the same. Keep repeating the same cycle and live with regret. Or step into growth. Rewire your mindset. And finally, experience what real attraction feels like. The challenge is simple for the next 30 days. Let go of outcomes. Show up authentic. Speak your truth. Value your time. Stop auditioning for her world and let her earn a place in yours. You already know what's been holding you back. Now it's about action. So decide, are you going to stay invisible? Or are you finally ready to become unforgettable? If you're serious, don't just watch, commit. Because the men who change are the men who act. Thank you for watching. If this message hit you, don't just scroll away. Subscribe, dive deeper into our content, and start building the mindset that puts you back in control. Drop a comment below. What's the biggest struggle you want us to break down next? Let's build a brotherhood of men who rise above confusion and reclaim their power. See you in the next video.